I gave people all the stuff they really needed. Social Security checks, utility bills, TV guide.
I want a TV guidance counselor. TV guidance counselor. Staying up to watch all night, and everything's gonna be alright with my TV guidance counselor.
Hello, patrons. Happy spring. Almost spring. Or if you're in Australia, is it fall? I get so confused by things. And I know some of you are in Australia. Anyway, welcome to this Patreon exclusive. Hope you're enjoying or will enjoy or have enjoyed the episode this week with director Michael Pressman. That is a very fun episode. But we did not use an actual TV guide, although we do discuss his father's work, which I still haven't found in the TV guide I'm digging. So if you find it, let me know. So if you don't know this, if you're not a $5 and up patron, $5 and up patrons get a PDF every week of the TV guide that we discussed that week. This week, there is no TV guide, so I thought I would give you a bonus episode in its stead. And this is going out to everyone, if you're a $5 and up or not. This is $1 up and up people. This is an episode I did live at Northeast Comic Con earlier in the month. This is with actor Kevin Chapman. Kevin is a Boston guy, and some would say he's the Boston guy. If you Google him, if you don't recognize his name, you will recognize his face. He's been in everything. And we talk about that here. A lot of TV stuff. Fun guy. This was a fun little chat. So I thought I would give you guys this. I may push this out to the the non-paying feed, the deadbeat feed, in like a month or two. So you're getting it early. So I figured this was a good substitute for not getting a PDF. And I have a couple more from this con. So if you like this, let me know. Comment here or shoot me a message. If there are things you would like, because I am always I'm so forever grateful that you give me your hard-earned money that I'm always trying to make it worth it for you. So if there are patron things that you would like, let me know and I will do my best to get them. Anyway, so enjoy this bonus episode of TV Guidance Counselor live from Northeast Comic Con earlier this month with actor Kevin Chapman.
TV is my friend, and it has been always there for me in time of need.
Chapman, everybody! Come on over. Move on up.
The crowd went wild.
Everyone calm down. So welcome to Boxborough.
Thank you.
So you grew up in
Boxborough's beautiful this time of year.
It really is. Do you grow up in Dorchester?
I did.
So this is like the country.
Me and the Wahlbergs. Me and Mark.
Everyone I know has a Wahlberg story.
I actually know the whole family. Mark's a little bit younger. Jimmy and Bobby are my friends.
Because what are there? 7 of them? 8 of them?
There's 9.
Wow.
Yeah.
They keep growing.
Yeah, they, like I say, Jimmy and Bobby are my friends. Mark and Donnie are a little bit younger.
Because you didn't start out as an actor. You were working at the film commission?
I worked for Mayor Menino. I worked in the city of Boston. And then I left my job in '98 and moved to Los Angeles to pursue an acting career. And studied acting for about 3 years. And then Clint Eastwood put me in a little movie called Mystic River.
Might have heard of it.
It changed the course of my life.
So, but you had you moved to LA with some film roles under your belt already.
Yeah,
right?
I did like Boondock Saints.
Monument Ave.
I did Boondock Saints, Monument Ave, Cider House Rules. Small, as I refer to the lines, 5 lines over someone's shoulder. It's one of those roles.
But it's still, because would you have pursued acting, you think, if not? Because was it Ted Demme that had first?
Ted Demme I worked with on Monument Ave, yeah. So I was working in a logistical capacity on behalf of the city of Boston. And Dennis Leary and Ted Demme kept looking at me kind of oddly, and they were like, "Can you act?" And I said, "I think I'm intelligent enough to." And so they gave me a script, and I went home and read it. And then we had lunch the next day, and they said, "Okay, tell us about the character Mickey Pat." And I told them who I thought he was. And they said, "Can you get 3 weeks off from work when we want you to play him?" So I was like, "Okay." So I still talk to I talked to Dennis yesterday, actually. Today's Saturday? I talked to Dennis on Thursday.
Because you did Rescue Me Later with him.
I did Rescue Me with Dennis later, which was another Dorchester connection. I read for a film called Recount on air. It was an HBO show about the recount down in Florida. So the character that I was going to portray was Michael Hooley, who was a political strategist and was really the guy responsible for orchestrating not only the recount in Florida, but also he was very instrumental in Bill Clinton becoming president of the country. Because a lot of people give credit to Jim Carvel, who was from Louisiana, but it was really Michael Hooley who was the guy behind the scene.
He's the guy who didn't want you to know he was behind the scenes.
And what Michael did was, in the Clinton election, you know that Bill Clinton had some issues with some women, and Michael did an interview. Well, 60 Minutes came to interview Bill. If you recall, it's a long time ago, but if you recall, he went into New Hampshire in last place.
Yep.
And came out. So when they did the interview, Michael convinced Hillary to do the interview with Bill, and then videotaped it, and then sent out copies of that videotape to all the super voters in New Hampshire. So, and he was the guy that turned his whole campaign around. But anyway, getting back to our topic, so I was interviewing. I had an audition with what the hell was the name? I can't even think. Jay Roach.
Oh, yeah, Jay Roach.
Jay Roach, who did Austin Powers.
Yep.
He did Meet the Fockers.
Yep.
He did,
He's married to,
huge director.
He's married to from the Bengals, Susanna
Yeah,
Hoffs. He's married to.
yeah. So I meet them for to portray Michael Hooley in Recount. I had a great audition. They call my agent. They go, look, we're going to offer it to Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton passes. We'd like to come back to Kevin. So I'm like, okay. So they offer it to Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton passes. They come back. They go, could you come in for another meeting? So I go in. I have to audition again. So prior to that audition, I reach out to Michael Hooley. And he says, you tell HBO and Jay Roach, if they don't hire you, they can kiss my ass.
Was that the first real person that you'd auditioned to play?
Well, I mean, what was ironic was he was from my neighborhood. You know what I mean? Yeah, so it was a neighborhood thing, you know? So he says, you tell Jay Roach and HBO they can kiss my ass if they don't hire you. So I go back in for the second audition. No, it's Jay Roach, Meet the Fockers, Austin Powers, he's
some juice.
Larger than life, right? I get done with the audition and I go, hey, by the way, I got a message from Michael Hooley. He goes, what's that? He goes, hire me or kiss his ass.
That's the most Boston way to get a part ever.
They all thought I was kidding. So long story short, they get back to my agent. They say, you know what? Kevin's a remarkable actor. He said, but unfortunately, he looks nothing like Michael Hooley, which I don't. Michael Hooley's like 6'2", 180 pounds, right? And so long story short, Dennis gets the part. Now, it's about 3 weeks now, and he's trying to do research, and he can't. When he said kiss my ass, he meant it, right? Yeah. So HBO's calling him, Jay Roach is calling him, and he's like, I ain't talking to nobody, right? So I called Dennis up, and I go, hey, D, you want me to hook you up with Michael Hooley? He goes, you can't. He goes, he told HBO, he told everybody to kiss his ass. So sure enough, I reached out to Michael Hooley, and I go, hey, Dennis is my friend. He started me in the business, and Michael said, Dennis is good with the firefighters. Dennis Leary has the Dennis Leary Firefighters Foundation and helps fire services throughout the country. And so he goes, you know what? He goes, he's a friend of yours. He goes, and my brother's a firefighter, so I'll talk to him. So as a thank you, and to show you what immense Dennis is, he wrote a 7-episode arc for me on Rescue Me. And it was one of the funniest. It was one of the funniest segments or pieces of Rescue Me. I don't get a lot of opportunity to do funny because I do the other stuff so well that they always see me as, the crime boss or the cop so I don't get a lot of opportunity. And Dennis knew that lived in me. So he wrote the role of Terrence for me and basically just turned the camera on and said, do your thing. And it came out pretty well.
That's ideal. That's like the best for like an actor. That's like the best possible scenario for doing
Yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. I mean, you know, when I worked with Clint Eastwood, I worked with Clint Eastwood twice. I did Mystic River with him, of course, and then he was doing a movie called Flags of Our Fathers over in Reykjavik, Iceland. So there are 3 beaches in the world that have the black sand. There was Iwo, there's a beach in Hawaii, and there's this beach in Reykjavik, Iceland. So I was in the middle of doing a series, Brotherhood, for Showtime.
Yeah, down in Providence, where they shot?
We shot in Providence, Rhode Island, correct. So I was doing the series Brotherhood in Rhode Island. My agent gets a call from Clint Eastwood's office saying that we want Kevin to come over to Iceland and play this lieutenant in Flags of Our Fathers. So Showtime was nice enough to give me the week off to fly to Iceland. So I get there and I, you know, I'm still relatively new, even though I'm a middle-aged man. I'm still relatively new to, you know, to the world of entertainment. And so I get there and we're on this beach in Iceland, and there's landing assault vehicles out there. I mean, it's just mayhem. There's things blowing up. There are soldiers marching in cadence.
Movie. Like
it was a massive movie, massive. But you know, and I thought that going over there that they were going to do all the ships and stuff in CGI. Clint would have none of it, right? Every ship that you saw in that movie was an actual ship out in the ocean. But the waves were so violent that my character, I played the lieutenant, and what I do is I give the order to drive over dead Marines on the beach so that we can land on the beach, right? So it was a very intense scene.
Yeah.
But so when I get there, I see Clint, and he walks up to me and he goes, "Well, hello, Chappie," because that's, you know, that's what he calls me. Yeah. And I'm like, "Hey, boss, how you doing?" I go, "Hey, I got this TV gig in Rhode Island. It's going fantastic." And you know, and you kind of forget who you're talking to. He's just kind of sitting there shaking his head, you know. And so anyway, they put me on the uniform, and they throw me on the landing assault vehicle. They send me out to sea, and when I say the waves were violent, they were coming up over that LTV, basically blowing me off the deck to the point where I had to put my arm through the cleat on the top of the landing assault vehicle to keep from being blown off the deck. And I had to be up on the deck so that when we land up on the beach, the camera could come in and get the scene, right? So I'm on this, and Clint never uses a bullhorn. He never says action. He just goes, "Okay, fellas, anytime you're ready," you know, and away you go. So I'm on this thing, and I am drenched from head to toe. And all of a sudden, about two ships over, I hear this guy in a bullhorn, and he says, "Hey, Chappie, how's that fucking TV show treating you now?"
And everyone else was like, "What?"
Yeah, everyone's like, "What?"
Oh man.
But, yeah.
So one role that you had, and it was fairly recently, but it's maybe my favorite show. You did a voice on Evil.
Yeah, I did the manager on Evil.
The
Yeah,
manager,
yeah.
who's this demon who
Yeah.
only like one person could see, and it's a really funny role.
Right.
But and I think it's a practical costume. But did you not see what that character looked like till after it aired, or did they?
No. So what they did was they put somebody in the costume. They did the blocking with the costume, and then I got a call. My agent got a call saying, "Hey, you know, we would like Kevin to do the voice of this." So they wanted me to go to New York, and I was like, "I'm not going back to New York to do that." So I did it right here in Boston at Soundtrack.
Yeah.
And so what they would do is they would send me the content, and then I would just lay the voice into it.
Did
You know, it's
watch
funny.
that
I've done
show?
a couple of horror things. I did Slender Man too.
Oh yeah.
I did Slender Man as well, and I didn't really know much about the whole phenomenon with Slender Man, and unfortunately, the movie didn't come out the way I had hoped, because I thought they really had an opportunity to make something that was going to be you know, well received, but they had a great little cast, but they just sometimes you get people that get jobs that don't have the vision, you know.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate.
Especially now where it's, in a lot of ways, it's so much easier to make a movie than it used to be, or there's less
Right.
gatekeepers. So sometimes people who maybe would have been ready 5 years later to make a movie.
Well, you know, I find with horror, you got to be in that space to make that film. You can't, you could be a remarkable filmmaker, but you're not going to make a horror movie if you don't know where. I've done 3 horror movies, and they've all been colossal failures. I did a movie called Slender Man. I did another one called Exeter. And then I did another one called Long Distance, where once again I was the voice. And that was another experience that should have been a great film. And what it was about this, quick synopsis of the movie was, this woman was actually the killer that she was fearful of the entire movie. And all you hear me is as a voice on the phone. But as the movie goes on, you realize it's actually the voice in her head.
Right.
And it could have been, a great film, but unfortunately, it was just once again poorly execution.
Are you a fan of horror movies?
I mean, I do. When they're good, they're good.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I mean? But it's like, it's one of those things with horror. It's like, where things are good, they're good. When they're bad, they're really bad.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah, you know, there's no like, oh, that was okay. It's either you're either all in, or you're like, oh, that was a waste of an hour and a half. You know,
it's a weird genre where like you can fail with a horror movie and it becomes a comedy. You can fail with a drama and it becomes a comedy.
Right.
If you fail with a comedy, you just failed. But like, so the horror movie, you almost want it to be like, if it's not going to be amazing, be really bad.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
in the middle,
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah, it's got to be like Sharknado or something.
Yeah,
you know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
But I loved that part in Evil. And had you watched the show at all?
You know, I didn't. And, there was some reluctancy because of Michael Emerson and I for 5 years doing Person of Interest.
Yeah.
So, and Michael, as you know, was one of the stars of Evil. So they had talked to me about doing the show, and I was like, I don't want to do that. So when the opportunity came to just do a voice, I was like, oh, . This is great. This is,
But then you see the footage and you're like, what is this show?
Yeah. But I didn't, I can't honestly say that I can't honestly say that I watch anything religiously, though. I'm always a guy like that. I like Naked and Afraid.
Yeah.
Like these kind of crazy
from
reality shows.
I hear that from actors all the time, though, because it's hard to unwind if you're watching something with acting in it, because
Right.
you're like, whoa, I wouldn't have done it that way. But if it's like a reality show, you can kind of just check out.
Well, that's the thing. My wife says to me all the time, she's like, you ruin movies for me. Because I see it and I go, I don't believe a word this guy said. You know what I mean? And so
At least you meant it that
it's
way.
better off
not
watching
when I see you, it's
sporting event or something that 60 Minutes is something I watch a lot of.
Any questions for Kevin? Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, come on up to the mic.
Thank you.
I really love that, and I'm a technology guy for a living. And when you were doing that show, and then you look at what's going on with AI and computers and everything today, what are your thoughts? Looking forward after being a part of that whole and all that.
So the question is, with Person of Interest, there's a lot of technology and crime. What do you think of that?
So so when we first did that show, a lot of people thought that it was a sci-fi show. And then the whole Snowden thing blew up, right? And then everyone's like, whoa, what are they talking about at Person of Interest? There are 7 billion people in the world, I believe. The NSA touches about 3 billion a day on some level, whether they're monitoring your cell phone usage, credit cards, your electronic footprint. I went to Washington, D.C. I was asked to host an event for the USO in D.C. Excuse me. And I jumped on a plane, of course, and went back. I'm big on the vets. My dad was a 2-time combat veteran, and so I went out and I met these guys from. They used to work for a 3-letter agency. That's like the code word in D.C. And in this one company, I think it was called Blue Sky, and what they were doing is they were targeting. They were targeting people in like Iraq and Afghanistan from Washington, D.C. by the cell phone usage, credit card usage, all their electronic footprint, and that's why they were sending operatives to go in and do whatever they do to these people. You know what I mean? But that's how they do it. So there was a lot of that went on with Person of Interest. A lot of people thought it was a scientific show until the whole Snowden story unveiled, and then everyone was like, "Whoa, what's going on?" When we first did that show, we did an experiment. We ran a car from the Bronx all the way down to Lower Manhattan. Okay, and through traffic, it's probably, I'm gonna say guess 35, 40-minute ride. That vehicle was out of sight for like a minute and 20 seconds because it got picked up by every building, ATM machine. We figured it all the way down, and it was like out of a 40-minute ride, it was only out of sight for a minute and 20 seconds.
But in that spot, you could get away with anything from that minute and 20-second spot.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty. And actually, it's funny. I was at a sporting event with one of my kids one day, and I had just bought a brand new car, and I parked it in the street, and I came back, and the whole back end of my brand new car was smashed in. Nobody left a note, nothing. The first thing I did was look around, and I saw a building with a camera, and I walked in, and the head of, fortunately for me, the director of security was a Person of Interest fan. He recognized me right away. He's like, "What's going on?" I said, "My car just got," he rolled back the tape, hit the button print, sent me out like an 8x10 of this guy's vehicle, his license plate. I called the guy up and I go, "Hey, you backed into my car." He goes, I didn't back into your car. I said, "Would you like me to send you the photo?" "Well, maybe I did."
That's funny because I get a photo.
Yeah. So.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's great.
When you were working were you working for the Film Commission under Menino, or was it just?
Yeah, for the city of Boston. Yeah.
So that was sort of an interesting time in Boston shooting because it was sort of a lull in that we had like James at 15, then Spencer for Hire, then like kind of nothing, things here and there.
So the movies I did were Monument Ave, and I worked on Good Will Hunting.
Like mid-90s, we started to pick back up again, right?
Yeah, but then I left. I moved. I knew that if I was going to have any success, I had to develop a craft. So I quit my job and I moved to Los Angeles, and I studied acting during the day, and I bounced at the House of Blues at night.
Which is kind of like studying acting as well.
Yeah, that was fun. I saw Etta James, I saw Ray Charles, I saw everybody. That was fantastic.
We were talking backstage, and I was mentioning you strike me as the kind of actor that everyone recognizes all the time.
Oh, all the time.
But they think they grew up with you or something.
Yeah, they think I live in their street. I was at a Dunkin' Donuts in I think it was in Halifax. And a woman walks up to me, she goes, "Anyone ever tell you look like Kevin Chapman?" I go, "I am Kevin Chapman." And she just goes, "Yeah, right," and walks out the door.
Man, any other questions for Kevin? Is there another question? Is there a role that you've done that you're particularly proud of that you think maybe not enough people have seen that you want more people to check out?
A show I did called Brotherhood in Rhode Island I thought was really good. It was a very smart show.
Tony V was on it.
It was myself, Jason Clarke, Jason Isaacs, Fanula Flanagan. That was a really smart show, and I it's funny, I have people that, because in Showtime really, they handled the show poorly right out of the gate. They launched it like 4th of July weekend.
Yeah.
And it was definitely a piece that needed to be, it needed like a fall premiere. It needed to come out in like October when people were in the house watching new content.
It's a gritty crime sort of mob show.
Well, basically what it was based on the Bulger brothers.
Yeah.
One brother was a politician, the other brother was a criminal.
It's not a fun summer series.
It's great. What I liked about it so much was that you can see where the two worlds run parallel, but only one rules with a gun and the other rules with a pen.
Yeah.
And it was a really good show. And we ran 3 seasons. Henry Brommel was our executive producer. It was created by Blake Masters. Henry Brommel was our executive producer. Henry went on to produce the CIA show on Showtime.
Yes. I can't think of the name of it now.
It was with Manny Patinkin originally. Yeah, Manny Patinkin and It was a big hit for Showtime. But Henry's dad was in the CIA. I think that was one of those moments where I felt like that. Because I get people come up to me this day and they're like, hey, I just saw that show. When are you shooting more? I'm like, I shot that 15 years ago.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, that's the problem. The one problem with streaming is everything seems contemporary.
Right.
So people like, I just watched this show. It's
Right.
brand new. And
Right.
you're like,
Yeah.
It's a long time
Well,
ago.
the nice part about it is people, I still look like the guy from 15 years ago. So that's
That's a nice compliment.
That's a good sign,
Have you ever been like offered roles where like, I don't want to play a guy from the Northeast anymore? Like, has there been a role you've gone out for that was like totally against type that you were surprised that people were considering you for that you really wanted to do?
No, I don't think that there is anything. I don't think there's like nothing that really jumps out at me. Well, I just finished. I just finished FBI Wanted for CBS, which I think it either airs this week or next week. And I played a basketball coach.
Oh,
That
nice.
was a bit of a stretch.
You're not a b-ball player?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Anyone have a question for
Let
me?
me get the guy who looks like a Coke machine with a head on it and make him the basketball coach.
To be fair, having grown up in the Boston area,
Yeah.
you do look like basketball coaches.
Yeah, right,
I think,
yeah.
so. They didn't always look like
Or
they
like
played.
Ball Boy.
They could yell at people.
Yeah.
And that's what they needed to do.
In terms of like movies that I had the most fun on, I did a movie called Ladder 49 with John Travolta and Joaquin Phoenix. That was amazing because we went through the Baltimore Fire Academy 6 weeks prior to principal photography, and it was just amazing. And
That's
I
not
had
easy.
No. I have such admiration and respect for the people in the fire services throughout the country. That's a pretty intense job. I think honestly, if I wasn't an actor, that would be the job that I would want to do. It was just, we were actually going to working fires until the lawyers from Disney found out, and they weren't very happy
Insurance
about
would
that.
not like that. Yeah.
But we went through the Baltimore Fire Academy. So one of the things we had to do was we had to go out on a belay. We had to come out a 6-story window on a belay and down the side of the building. Now, I'm scared of heights. So as we go up, the captain looks at my face and he goes, you're scared, right? I said, I'm petrified. He goes, you don't have to do it. And I said, if I'm not going to do this, I might as well go home. I said, I go first. So I went out first, and I came down the side of the building, and I was very proud of myself because I knew how riddled with fear I was. So a couple of the other actors grabbed me later, and they said, we were scared. He said, but we saw how scared you were, and you went first, so we knew we had to go. So it was great. It was a great feeling. So as I go down, now I'm feeling pretty good about myself. So now I have to go up to the roof and put my heels on the edge of the building and fall off the back of the building on the belay and come down. So now I'm feeling pretty cocky. So as I'm going up the stairs up to the roof, there's a dummy in the hallway. I grab the dummy and a fireman carry over my shoulders, and I carry it all the way up to the seven stories. And I take my turnout jacket off and I throw it on the dummy. And I go, Cap, I don't know, I'm a little worried. And I whip the dummy off the roof, and there's no belay, nothing.
Right.
And they just see this dummy coming down with Chapman written across the back of him. And the producers are freaking out, and they're screaming. They're going, call 911. There was an entire class down the hill, a Baltimore fire class. The whole class came running up the hill. I mean, it was like mayhem. And then I looked over the edge of the building, and the producer lost his mind. He's like, I'll fire you right now. I'm like, you don't have the power. Shut up and keep moving, But I had so much fun making that film, and we went to working fires. I went to a 15-story dwelling, floors 9. It was so in the fire service, you have what they call a high-rise bag, and what it is, it's a line in a bag. And you'll see in a lot of big buildings, they have the standpipe that goes up. So you tie into the standpipe and you turn your water on, you fight the fire. So we grab the high-rise bags, we go up to the 9th floor, and log in, turn the valve, no water. It was a public building in Baltimore, and instead of fixing the standpipe, which was leaking. They just disconnected it.
Shut it off. It's easier.
So now they're like, no water in the building, so everyone's got to run downstairs. Now they're coupling lines to bring them up. So now it's floors 9, 10, and 11 are fully involved. And when they knocked it all down, because I played in the movie, John Travolta is the captain on the pump. So it's myself, John Travolta, Joaquin Phoenix, and another actor by the name of Kevin Daniels. And then what happens, the movie takes place over a 10-year span. John Travolta goes on to become district chief. Joaquin goes on to ladder 49, and I become the officer in the front seat. So I had to learn both jobs. And, the arson inspector brought me in, and he's showing me the point of origin. A guy fell asleep in a bed and caught a draft and ran down the hall, and he was recreating the fire for me. And I looked down, and I thought it was an old mattress. To this day, I thought it was an old mattress. And I came that close to kicking it because I had, my turnout gear and my boots on and everything. For some reason, I didn't. And then as I got over it, I realized it was the victim that had fell asleep in the bed, And for me, I was just like, wow, these guys. No, you think about seeing something like that, right? And now you've got another 15 hours left on your shift, It's like, right then and there, I was like, these are the bravest individuals in the world.
Yeah, like most people, that would be, their life would be split into before seeing that and after seeing that. And for them, it's like, this is every day,
Right, you got to deal with it, and you got to go back, and, sometimes, unfortunately, it's a child, and you got to, and you got your own kids at home, and, so it's pretty powerful stuff.
Any question for Kevin? One, two more questions? No? Anything you have coming up that you're excited about?
I just finished this movie, a local movie called Shattered Ice. It was a hockey movie, which was nice. It was based on something I guess that happened in Needham. So I just completed that, and like I said, just completed FBI Wanted, which I think is on, I don't know, the next couple of weeks. And then I have a couple of projects that I'm producing, actually, and I've made a couple of movies with some friends. I made a movie years ago with Jay Moore's a long-time friend, and Joe Montaigne, and a bunch of people. We did this little movie called Lonely Street, where it was a great concept. Once again, poor execution on the director, but we had Robert Patrick, Ernie Hudson, Joe Montaigne, Jay Moore, Nikki Cox, Lindsay Price, Mike Starr. We had a good little cast, and they were just all friends. I just raised the money. I just called friends up and was like, "Hey, I'm making a movie. Give me some money." And it was what it was. There's this down on his luck private investigator played by Jay Moore who gets approached to protect this guy, and he doesn't know, but the guy he's protecting is Elvis. He's still alive.
Oh, that's amazing.
And Robert Patrick played Elvis. It was great. And unfortunate. So anyway, I made a couple of films. Now I'm venturing off into television. So I have a project I'm working on with Dennis, actually, that we just had a great meeting on the other day. And, we'll see where it all goes.
Do you want to direct stuff?
I would like to direct. I don't know if I don't know if I have the attention span for it, to be truthfully honest with you. I mean, you want to talk about detail. I've been very fortunate. I've worked with some monumental directors. I did Unstoppable with Tony Scott and Denzel Washington. I did
Clint Eastwood.
two. I did. I worked with Alejandro Araujo on 13 Grams with Sean and Benicio, and I've worked with the Weitz brothers. I've worked with, Walter Hill, Lasse Hallström.
Oh, what was the Walter Hill film?
I did a pilot with Walter Hill. Actually, that was the thing that moved me back from Boston. After I had finished Brotherhood, I got offered this pilot, and it was Dana White, and the UFC was the money behind it. Walter Hill was the director. It was myself and this English actor who I won't reveal his name, but we were the two leads, and it was one of those things where the casting director, I love casting directors, but they sometimes get a little excited over an accent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, a guy walks in and, he's like, hello, and she's like, oh, he's brilliant.
And he's
you know,
not
he's
even
like,
playing
eh,
that
he's not.
accent or
Yeah.
the thing, yeah.
So this guy just, he wasn't getting it. And Walter Hill kept coming to me and he's going, Kevin, can you help me? And I said, I can't drive this guy through South Boston anymore. Like,
Yeah.
he ain't getting it, And it was kind of a crime thing. So anyway, it was the UFC. Dana White was the money behind it. Walter Hill directed it. It was going to be Spike TV's our first original program, because Dana, as you know, and the UFC were the biggest things on Spike TV at the time. Everything that could possibly happened.
Because that sounds like it's set up for success.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's what I said to my wife. I go, here's our opportunity to go back east. I said, this thing will get a season 2 anyway out of it. You know what I mean? And the pilot come out, and it was just atrocious.
Because Walter Hill did like the Warriors.
Walter took his name off it.
Oh, Alan Smith.
I mean, the guy just didn't, the guy who was playing opposite me just was way over his head. And Dana left the UFC and went to Fox. So that relationship was severed, and it was just like it was like a series of events. So what I had to do is I had to leave my family here because I had already moved them back to we had a house in Massachusetts and a house in Los Angeles. We sold the house in LA and moved everyone back to the Massachusetts house. So I had no place to even go back to LA. So I had to leave my family here and go back and get an apartment. And then I got offered person of interest, and that was back in New York. So it was
worked out better.
It was great. Yeah, it was all good. Yeah.
So Kevin will be right over there during the show, guys. So make sure you go over and see him. And thank you so much for chatting.
Hey, thanks.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy the show.
There you go. That's Kevin. Hopefully you enjoyed that. I also have ones with Bai Ling and one with Gina Schock from the Go-Go's and Greg, oh my God, why am I? Greg from the Cars. Jeez, I'm forgetting Greg's last name. The keyboard player from the Cars. It's early, guys. I've been sleeping. Anyway, thank you so much for being a patron. I really do appreciate it. Next week, you will get a PDF of the issue that is discussed if you are a $5 and up patron. And if you aren't a $5 and up patron, I love you and I thank you anyway. So please be here next week. Please continue to be a patron. I need you. And I'll see you next time.